Hi, my name is Tracy Kilgore. Welcome to our Neuro Neutral podcast. This is my co-host, Julie Olson.
Yo, yo.
Every episode, we're going to dive deep into a different area of neurodivergence and visit what we call the neuro neutral space. This is a space in which we can create, we can change all the belief systems that we took on as we grew up, and we can turn them into whatever we want. If you don't understand that concept, that's why you need to be on the podcast and
Hands
watch
down. Guys, this is for you. Stay tuned.
We're really excited today to have our special guest, Miss Mansfield. And yes, there is a relation. She is the great
niece
of Jane Mansfield, which I just found out. And look at her face.
She's like,
and those of you, if you're listening to the podcast, not the YouTube, you can't see her face. She looks like Jane Mansfield.
You can totally imagine her face. Imagine yes. Jane Mansfield's face. And I don't even know who she is.
But her name is Dani.
Yes.
Nice to be here with you guys.
Do you go by Dani or Danielle? I've been calling you like both.
It depends. Whatever people are comfortable with, I try to give them an option.
Oh, you definitely have
you're
an
nice.
option.
I like Dani.
Yeah.
I like both.
Endearing.
Dani's like fun and like easygoing. Danielle's like my very like business oriented.
Can I call is Danielle Mansfield there? Yeah, that sounds a little more
It's very like authentic.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
bam.
She's business.
Yeah, Dani's like my more fun, free-flowing energy, so.
I was the one that introduced Dani to this podcast.
Where did you first meet Dani? And then I want you to tap into what it is you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So where did I meet Dani? We were at a business event.
Wait, is this the one I was at too?
Yes. Literally that one. It was literally that one.
That was the first night we met.
Yeah. Well, actually, I saw you. We kind of talked for a little bit, and I was so drained. I was so tired. We were doing a lot that day.
We've been doing a lot for weeks now,
and I was like, I'm so exhausted. We attended because one of our friends was going out to Colorado for military for a year. And we're like, oh gosh, we better go support them and say hi and so forth. So we went. And then that's when I saw Dani talk to one of my business partners. And I was like...
Was it Jen?
It was Jen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just tracking the story.
Yes. And I mean, I don't say their names on here solely because, I mean, do they even know who they are? I mean, yeah, they could.
You should, because they're great people.
They are great people. So I ended up... I was like, I want to talk to Dani. I'm like, what does she do? Jen told me, and then a part of me, I don't know why it got stuck into my head, was bookkeeping. And I was like, oh, I've been wanting to look for a bookkeeper. And
I think you're a little bit more than that, right?
Oh, yeah. No, she doesn't do bookkeeping.
At all.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like, in my brain, I don't know why I associated it.
I actually have
like
someone for you if you're interested.
I'm really gravitating to a lot women, so like
it's a woman.
I feel like I just want to keep empowering.
It's my brother's wife.
Community
in Arizona.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, we're leaving, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're gonna go. So I was like, let me walk you to the door. I was like, okay, I only have this much time to talk to her because I wanted to get to know you. We got to know each other way fast in that moment. And then I was just like, oh, I'm so tired. Like, I'm so, like, she saw me in one of my most vulnerabilities. I know it's probably not the most professional, but I'm kid you not. When you have ADHD and you're burnt out, you're on fumes.
Thank goodness your fumes were better than mine because I was like not as social as normal. Because then you wouldn't be here today, and then I would be sad because we wouldn't be having this conversation.
I'm telling you, and then Dani, and then I was like, do you have ADHD? And she's like, I don't know. And then I was like, well, the reason I say that is because, like, you totally took to me. Like, either people, when I'm in that stage and I'm around people, they either will be like, you're weird, or they'll belittle me, especially in the business world. And that's how I quickly understand a person's character, is how they treat me with my ADHD. Because my ADHD, yes, it somewhat defines me, but that doesn't mean it defines my work.
Right.
Well, the thing is other people have this preconceived notion of what ADHD is in a person, but they don't really understand
Society will look at people that see the behaviors or the body language of an ADHDer as lazy, chaotic, they don't know anything, I don't want to work with them. That type of a thing, you know what I mean? Like, I remember this one manager, I was sitting like this, like low, and he's like, sit up, you're in a meeting. And I'm like, you're gross, you're an older man, don't tell me how to live my life. And I'm just like, that's the type of look it has on us. Does that make sense? So I've battled that. I've literally
Same.
worked against people who see me, and I still do. Like, there's people who I've talked to, and they see me grow, and they're like, "Oh, Julie, you've done really well for yourself." And I'm like, "Yeah, and you never really like saw me, so like that sucks for you, and I don't want to work with you." Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it can be a superpower as well, right?
Oh yeah,
The hyper focus and the things that come along with ADHD.
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
And it's funny because people read something off someone who shows up that way and presume that means they're incapable. But if you would just be patient, you'd see they're actually more capable than the average person.
So get this.
With certain things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Dani took to me. I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so nice." And she was like, "Well, you look fine if you're this tired." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you're so kind to me." Because I was like so tired. I'm like, I literally just took the suit out in the back of my car because I was just like, "Oh yeah, that's right, I need to do this." And it was just a day for me. It was a long day for me. But get this, guys. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you know me, you know that I'm a creator. I love to create. I love having different projects and then seeing them become tangible. And that's why I was like, I'm doing an all-women's event. Do you want to come? Like, what do you even do? Like, I even asked what you do, and I was just like, what do you do? And then
she's a woman, so checks one of the main boxes.
First it was kind to my ADHD. Check. Then it was like, she's super cool and she connects to me. Check. And then we started talking about business, and I'm like, I feel like I could totally connect with her. People I could probably give to you, businesses. Like, I'm in this business to collaborate and to partner and to grow because I want to be known as someone that builds economies. Either if it's with this practice, this person, this coach, this event, whatever it is, because that's how we all grow together. That's community.
Absolutely.
So that's Dani for you. That's my experience with you. And then I called her and I was like, you want to be on my podcast? You want to come to my women's event? Like, I'm telling her all these things. That I'm like, you need to come. I think you're so cool. And then she's like, oh yeah, I had a Navajo sister. I was like, oh my gosh. And then we even connected even more with that.
Wait, what?
So my aunt is Navajo. In Arizona. Yep.
And I just thought it was
You're both from Arizona, correct? You and Chris?
Nope, we're both from Utah. Well, I'm from Utah. He's from Washington.
Oh.
Also, there's someone here that's named Chris, so you guys don't know who you're talking about. So Tracy will get sidetracked and see.
Sorry.
Just
Well, he's here.
I say that because it happened. If he wants to come in, he can. It's totally fun.
He's shy, I think. That's okay. Maybe we'll introduce you at the end.
Oh, Chris is the man behind the curtains, doing all the cool things.
Like in The Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's Chris.
I just need a heart.
Like, from what I've heard from Chris, he's a great guy, like, very personable, very connected to a lot of individuals, and that's what I felt when I first saw Chris when I was at the Next Gen event. I'm like, I just felt this good energy.
Just genuine, authenticity.
Yes, authentic.
Yep.
It's my favorite word of the day, of the year, really. I feel like that's what we all need to step into, and that is the goal. And if you're not doing that, you're not owning your life the way you're supposed to.
Yeah.
It's amazing when it starts to happen. Like, she and I both have stepped into this. I feel like I've kind of been authentic, but then I definitely realize when I mask, even now. Do you struggle with that ever?
And that's a huge thing, too, if people with neurodivergence is like, we mask ourselves. I've masked myself for years.
But unknowingly, because you just are coping and trying to survive.
Yeah. No, I definitely find myself doing that. Right?
Yeah.
It's something that you have to constantly not do and step into a space of authenticity in everything that you do, right?
100%.
But it can be challenging.
It is.
Oh, for
I think
sure.
you just have to constantly talk yourself through it. Like, what does your self-talk look like every single day, and work through that? And it's not every day it's going to be perfect, right? Sometimes it's not going to be the nicest things, but like, work through that and just constantly make it a practice. It's a practice. So don't be mad at yourself when it's not the best talk, but practice it every single day.
Can you give us an example of a coping strategy you utilize when you step into that, or realize that you're stepping into masking? Because sometimes I don't even notice until afterwards, and I'm like, what did I just do there? You know?
I think it all comes from fear, though, right?
Oh, yes.
Everything comes from fear. How am I going to handle this if it doesn't work out? How am I going to handle this if they don't like me? And so something that I've really come to learn is I can handle anything. I can handle if they don't like me. I can handle if this doesn't work out, I'm taking a risk. And so I just constantly tell myself, you can handle this, right? So that's probably my best coping.
Do you ever question yourself and say, okay, today I cannot handle this?
Absolutely. I think stepping into a space of gratitude really helps me to shift, though, and looking around and realizing, I think sometimes we forget to look back and see how far we've come, even maybe in a year for some people, or maybe that's 5 years, but to look back and say, wow, I was here and now I'm here, and look at the journey that I've taken.
Isn't that cool?
And how beautiful is this, right? And step into a space of gratitude. That always helps me shift.
So
Gratitude.
This is exactly when we were at the mastermind, what came up from Dr. O. And I carry it with me all the time now, is celebrating the little wins.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you don't notice. And then when you put them cumulatively together, like you've probably done a lot of things.
Absolutely.
And you haven't given yourself credit for that. And you're just pounding yourself for the things that you didn't do, and actually brings in the negative energy instead of facilitating
that
the
pattern.
positive.
We keep talking about. It's that neuron that you've created and established for yourself, where you're naturally going to be thinking of, oh, dang, I'm not like this. Until we practice gratitude, we're creating a new neuron. Until that's chiseled out and we're using that over and over and over, eventually our brainwave and electrons will go through that route. That doesn't mean those thoughts are going to be gone and dismissed and it's erased and that neuron is no longer there. No, it's still there. So it's going to be inevitable for those electrons to be able to then go that alternative route. But it's us who can control the actual part of where the car is going to go. Does that make sense?
And like the practice, like she's saying, is how you override it. Over time, it will override and it will become the stronger path. And the other one, it'll still be there, but it'll be dormant.
Which is why we practice gratitude, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
as simple as it is, it's like that's why we practice gratitude. I know we kind of don't want to, but I feel like that resistance is literally like you don't know how to even create it.
So that's what I want to suggest. Unshakable by Tony Robbins. I really like Tony Robbins. Grew up with him as a child, so he's just kind of like, that person that I've known kind of my whole life. But he's got a 5-minute gratitude meditation. You can find it on YouTube, and I'll put the link below, but it is literally 5 minutes, and it'll take you on a journey if you open yourself up and listen to it and really show you how to be grateful.
Yeah.
I actually had the coolest experience the first time I did it, so I like to share that with people, because it's 5 minutes and you can just kind of step into that.
Dani, tell us about you. Tell us, what do you do? How did you get to where you are? Who is Dani?
Oh, that's a tough question, right? So my latest endeavor is Launch Pros. And what we do is we help structure businesses properly. So going into business, it can be kind of scary. There's a lot of questions. I don't know if you guys have ever structured a business, but it can be kind of a scary process, right? Not only that, but if you are not structured properly, there can be some legal issues that come up on, the later end of things. And
or just chaos too, right?
Absolutely. And, with struggling with ADHD, we don't always check all the boxes, right? So we're kind of there to make sure that our team does check all the boxes and make sure that everything's done properly so that on the later end of things, you're protected as much as possible in that sense. So yeah, that's kind of my passion right now. Above all else, I'm a mom, and I love being a mom. I have a beautiful 11-year-old.
Oh.
And I just want to motivate her and teach her that she can do anything she wants to do on her own. I think in cells and in society, there's been this sense of you need a man to achieve your dreams, or you need a man to get to where you want to be in life. And I just really want to encourage women and girls all around to pursue their dreams and that they can do anything they set their mind to and connect with other women that are pushing you towards the same things.
So I like to always add that if you want to be that woman who is the stay-at-home mom,
that's beautiful.
That's okay too. Like, I don't like to say one is better than the other, but it's what do you actually want?
Absolutely.
And I would like to just pinpoint what you're saying when it comes to needing another individual to give you the validation for you to either create or to do or to provide or to get the validation that you can do.
That you're good enough. Right?
Yeah, like you're good
worthy enough to do this.
I think that's probably what she was highlighting there, and I resonate with that because I'm finding myself gravitating women to me that are single mothers, women who want to create income and be a provider as well, because that's what they want, versus then having to be where they are and doing those day-to-day habits. They want more. And I'm finding that even women that are struggling with their mind, I find that those are the type of women I'm that are bringing and that are coming to me. I'm grateful for that, because I really do believe we can help each other. When I look at my healing journey, there was a lot of women throughout my healing journey that like lifted me up. Like if I were to put it like in a cartoon, it'd be like I was just kind of like just dead, like on, let's say, a beach, and then all of a sudden
dead on a beach.
They like revived me, and then like I was still waking up, but they were like putting me into a crowd, and then this crowd was lifting me up. I was like crowd surfing,
of course, like at a concert, right?
But I'm not alive. I'm like still healing, right? And through their touches, it's like they pour their power through me, and
the divine feminine,
and through that, it's like, oh my gosh, they understand what's going on in here. We women are seasonal by design. We go through menstrual cycles. That's seasonal. So doesn't that mean also what's happening in here is seasonal as well? And that is where I feel like that communication to bring to the world for others to understand, that's where I want to disrupt the business industry.
Yeah.
Because it's very much, but when you work with women, we're efficient. We will take one span of time, do very well, but then it takes others to do it maybe a little here and there. But what I'm saying is we're efficient because we adapt so well, because we're adapting to our families, we're adapting to our bodies, we're adapting to, let's say, hormones. Even I sometimes always feel like I wish hormones was like a tingly, funny sensation in us. So then we can identify.
Sometimes, right?
So then we can identify, like, oh, my hormones are hyphenated right now. Oh, that's where it's coming from. But it doesn't. It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
And so
sometimes it's the aftermath that you realize.
Exactly. And so that's what I'm saying. Those type of things that goes on in here, and then you add ADHD to it. Like, that's where I want to bring awareness to.
I love that. And I think there's definitely a space for men and women, right? When we work together and someone can really see, wow, there's the divine feminine and the divine masculine, right? They play a role with each other. And I don't think you can really be anywhere without one or the other.
100%.
But it's 100%. Finding those people, like, for example, Chris is very much about empowering women and showing them, like, this is your worth and you're amazing and we're going to do this. And I think that's beautiful.
I could totally see that, Chris.
Yeah, I love
totally see that, man. you exert that energy so well. I love it.
So I think it's finding that and empowering each other.
Yes.
And that's really what it comes down to, is just finding your power and really stepping into that, whether that's the divine masculine, divine feminine, but step into it and run with it and believe in yourself.
100%.
So
it's the way I look at it is, it's like I'm saying to people, it hurts right here, and all they're seeing me is just point. So all they're being like, oh, and so then they touch it because they're misinterpreting what I'm saying. But I'm literally saying it hurts right here. that's how I feel like it is with being a woman. Like there's times where I'll explain things to my husband and he's like, oh, okay.
But we can really only go off of our experience, right? So if we haven't experienced, sexism or hate or racism or anything like that, how do we step into a space of understanding and empathy if you don't experience it? And I think really life comes down to, what have I experienced? Have I experienced sexism? Have I experienced racism? And when you can experience those things, they might be negative, but take those and run with them and create empathy for other people, right?
100%.
Well, I think even on top of that, which that is super important, but we don't necessarily have to know what it is. Just know that maybe you need to be softer to that person because you don't actually understand it.
Yeah, I love
so
that.
giving them the space to be who they are and accepting it while not understanding it instead of judging it, because that's what a lot of people will do. They'll judge instead of discern what's right for themselves and still be accepting of that other person. I just feel like you need to meet people where they are, and everybody's not going to be your jam. We all know that. There's some people you just don't really resonate with. That means, not the right time or not the right person.
And I'm sure it's the same thing with like ADHD, right? So my stepson had really bad, very intense ADHD. And that's kind of really, I thought I had ADHD, but it was to a whole new level. And so when COVID happened, I got to sit with him and be his teacher. And I came to understand ADHD on a whole new level. And I was like, the school system is really not meant for kids with ADHD. No. You guys have so much going on. Let's go play for a minute, and then we'll come back and we'll assess
look how quickly you tapped into that. That's impressive.
Seriously,
Thank you.
That's very loving too as a parent, because not everyone gets that experience. And I think that's so cool.
But I think we're we're taught that that's the right thing. You go to school, you do school for X amount of time. You're supposed to get straight A's, right? But that's not how our ADHD brain works. It's meant like, I can focus for a little bit and I can hyper focus nonetheless, but then I need to move my body, right? And I think a lot of kids are in that area where they're needing to move their body and do things.
I'm always moving.
I think supportive teachers, though, this is where, it was a different time for me, but this is where the struggle is. If you're not helping support that brain and you're constantly putting them in timeout, sending them out of the classroom, telling them to be quiet, those kinds of things, you're creating more of a problem for that child instead of assisting them. And I know a teacher can't diagnose, so, you got to be talking to the parents, and you're not allowed to even suggest it in the school systems now.
Yeah.
But you can say, I'm seeing this kind of behavior, and then let the parent, hopefully do something with that to help facilitate or nurture, because you have to have a diagnosis too to get on, your IEPs or any of those kinds of, I don't remember all the acronyms, but there's several different ways that you can get more help at school, even if you're in college, but you have to have an actual diagnosis, which means you have to go to the doctor, you have to put it in your file, it's got to be there for the rest of your life. And some people don't want to do that either because
there's fear around that, right?
Well,
how are people going to judge me? What is this going to hold me back from?
Life insurance.
Not only there, but
Life
underwriting, they take that as a disability, and
totally
also
it's a disability.
In the DSM, it actually is.
And that's why they looked at your medication. So literal society is looking at it as it's a hindrance.
Yeah, if they would just change the way we're talking about it, which is what neuroneutral
That's why
is all
we're
about.
creating this.
I love this.
Because when you change that dialogue, then you allow for the space for different brains. And if you look at the statistics of what's actually happening with neurodivergence, I think they're like 1 in 36 in America anyway, are diagnosed as neurodivergent.
You're saying it's going to become 1 in 36. That's what you told me last time.
Okay, thank you. Because sometimes I forget the details, but
it's evolving to where it's going to become 1 in 36.
And it definitely has a lot to do with food supply.
Food supply is huge. Oh my gosh.
Environment.
One day I'm going to change I'm going to change that too.
Well, I'm with you on that one.
I'm going to change that too.
It's
anyway. It all comes down to education, though. Really, right? It all comes down to
even
education.
About food. For sure.
Absolutely.
My son and I were talking about this last night. When he was a little kid, I would have him watch little cartoons about GMOs. And so then he'd go to people's houses and be like, does it have GMOs? I can't eat it. So it's like brainwashing him early to realize what effects, GMOs and chemicals have on your system, on your brain.
Yeah.
And there's so many other things. And the laws here, they have a lot that needs help. I mean, like the food coloring, the artificial things, the addictive properties to get you to be addicted to food. Why are we doing that to people?
I have friends in other countries, and they're like, they came over and we're all watching concerts because we love watching concerts. One of them's like pounding this, I forget what flavor of Mountain Dew. I'm like, oh dang, you're drinking so much. And they're like, yeah, this is banned in my country. Mountain Dew and hot Cheetos. So that's what they got, was Mountain Dew and hot Cheetos. But here in America, people think it's okay because it's FDA approved.
Corn syrup is banned in a lot of countries.
Stupid thing you need to get out of the way. It's just, that doesn't mean nothing.
Do you know that, like, I'm not going to say the name, but there's a syrup on the shelf. It's the best priced one. And if you don't read the ingredients, you're not going to know this, but it's corn syrup. It's not syrup. Yep. It's not from a maple tree. Anyway, it makes me crazy because that is banned in other countries.
In Switzerland, there's a grading level. I don't know if you guys have ever gotten like chocolate from Switzerland, but we had friends fly in and they brought us all this chocolate and all these candies and all these treats. And there's a grading system so that kids can actually understand in a simple level, A, it's good for you, F, it's not good for you, right? So we really need to adapt things like that so that kids can understand. And I mean, because parents need to teach, but I think it's
but that's where the challenge is leadership. They don't really care.
They don't care.
I mean, some people probably do.
Yeah.
But it's more about the bottom line for companies, and that's where you just have to be your own person to do the homework. It's exhausting, but once you get it down, read labels, understand where to shop, it's not in the middle of the store, it's on the outside where everything's either in the refrigerator or the fresh produce or the meat. And the rest you probably should
just stay away from.
Yeah.
How do you guys find that, as far as focus wise, how do you become...
I'm pulling you closer to me just because I like you.
How do you guys find when you're not being focused? What tips do you have for being more focused?
It depends on a lot of things. So
one, you have to be aware that you're not focused. I think that's step one.
Okay.
Practicing.
Oh, I definitely feel it. Don't like it.
Like practicing. Oh, okay, I am focused. Because you can be out of focus for hours and hours, and then you realize, and then what will happen is then you'll start getting frustrated with yourself because time has gone by, you didn't complete X, Y, and Z, whatever it is that you need to do. So I think first is getting good within your own vessel when that starts to happen. Just start monitoring yourself.
Do daily check-ins or something?
Yeah.
Or hourly check-ins?
Yeah.
Well, even
that's a great idea.
For the both of us,
I have to say hourly too because there's times where I'll days off for 2 hours. There's times where I'll be
you have to say what? Did you say?
Hourly check-ins?
Hourly. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. That I don't know that happens to me, but
it does, and it does. And it still happens. It doesn't happen as frequently, but there are times where if I'm having a bad week in here, meaning the organization, I'll just go, yeah. But when I do have it and I am hyper-focused when I need to, then I'll complete everything I can in that time span. So first and foremost, I'll say for me on this is I have to prep up myself before I get distracted. So not only have I learned when I can have it, but then I've learned how to prep before it even happens. So what is that? Wake up, work out, and start my meditation, journaling, reading, because I'm stimulating my brain, I'm stimulating my eyes, and then I'm using motor skills as well with writing. All of those pertain to this. I have to work out because that gives me natural dopamine. I don't take any more medication. I've stopped that. I don't know when that will happen again, but it's been a journey in that. So I'm a firm believer that I can create a life without medication. I feel like medication is used for society purposes because you're trying to fit into society's norm of you have to show up to work, you have to be this person, you have to be this way of acting. So all that ties to energy, all that ties into certain focuses. But what if we create a world where we can be who we are and then we do what our work, and then we go back to who we creatively are. Like, that's where I believe strong for my world.
Yeah.
On that. I would say other preventative measures is knowing what I'm going to eat.
And being prepared.
Like even if I know, like, okay, Darren, let's make this tonight. Okay, then we know that's what we're going to have. And if you're with someone, helping that partner will also help them to, like, assist you. Darren is now getting better at being like, have you eaten? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I think I did.
Today.
I think I did. And he's like, well, tell me what'd you eat? And I'm like, no, I actually really didn't. And
is that an ADHD thing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
You forget to pee.
You forget to go to the restroom.
You forget to eat.
Yes.
I do that
when you're
quite
hyper
often.
focused. It's like,
See, and I feel like I'm just learning about all these little symptoms and signs.
I
that
love
I'm
it.
like,
Thank you for being patient.
That's what that is.
That would be mine. What about you? What about yours?
so I have to have a routine of working out is my number one.
Routine, same with
I
mine.
skip that and I'm already like
Lethargic throughout the day. If I don't work out, then that affects here. It
Yeah.
doesn't release whatever it needs to release.
Do you just feel like I feel like a high when I work out? I feel like I
Yes.
have this energy
Yeah, you
rush.
get about 2 hours of dopamine from an hour of working out.
So, and that's when I do most of my work. I work very hard until noon or till 12, and then if I have evening appointments or afternoon appointments, that's great. But I usually cram everything all in the morning, and then because I'm at my most best.
You wake up early to work out though, like 4:30, right?
Yeah, so I wake up at 4. If I'm trying to train my brain, I'm trying to train my body at 3:30. But right now it's at 4. And then I do my meditation. I do my journaling, my scriptures, and my just a random book that I'm reading. And then once that's all done, the gym opens up at 5, so then I go work out at 5. And then my team meetings is, depending on the time frame when it switches, is right now it's at 7, but sometimes it's at 6. That's what I like to do. I want to be ready when I'm on my meetings, like mentally ready, camera on, everything, because it's on Zoom.
Yeah.
That's just me. And I run with people too that have this similar setup. And it's crazy because they all have ADHD. And I'm like, cool, if they're all millionaires and they're where they are, then I need to do those habits too.
I believe it's 80%, could be wrong here, of entrepreneurs do have
it's a high percentage for sure.
Some form of ADHD.
And I love it. They create their life the way that they want it. They have their teams, their structures, and that's what I have. And that's literally what I have right now. So it's like, I like it because then when my husband comes home at 3, then I get the time with him. He plays the drums. I play the guitar. Also, another thing too that helps out with my ADHD brain is music.
Tons.
And we'll create music together, and then we'll just hang out. You know what I mean? If I have appointments in the evening, I'll do that. But that's my schedule. That's Julie's schedule. That's what's working for her, and that's what helps her. That's my medicine.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your routine?
What is
Or
my routine?
do you have a set one that you try and stay? I mean, because some days it just doesn't work.
When I'm my
Exactly.
best version, it's waking up, going to the gym at a specific time. I used to do 4 a.m., but right now I don't do 4 a.m. I need to get back into it.
Hey, our bodies can adjust however we want it. So
I find that fasting after the gym helps me to be more focused, and then like around 12 to 1 I eat something, or I'll do a protein shake, something simple. And then getting sleep. Sleep is so crucial for me.
I take a nap in the afternoon.
Do you?
That's what people don't see. I take a nap every day.
Yeah, well, I think that is a great part of self-care. 30 minutes, like I took one yesterday, actually. I think it's very helpful to reset. But
Yes.
if you sleep long time, it actually makes you more tired. So you kind of have to figure out what's that threshold for you.
Yesterday, after I got all my stuff ready and done, it was probably like 2, and I was like, I'm going to take a nap. My nap lasted till like 4:30. So I'm like, I didn't have any appointments this afternoon until like 7. And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to take that last one. But that's what I'm saying, like, I love that. I love being able to just crash when I want to. That's the life I want. I want a life of
Freedom.
working my body, doing my work, creating my life around, and then, yeah, like, that's, I don't know. And you, but, like, how do you help out your children? You said it was your stepson?
Yep. So we are no longer together.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
How did you help them? Because you were still working with them, even you said during COVID.
We had a structure in place. So we would wake up in the morning, we would have breakfast together. There was a lot of structure, but I included a ton of play in that, right? So, okay, we did one subject, go ride your scooter, it was giving a sense of freedom, right? Because I think when people feel free, that's when they are doing their best. I don't know. I just think people do a lot more.
Still for most ADHD brains. I'm not going to say all, because some people can sit still and the school thing isn't hard for them, but a lot it is, because they're forced to be like, sit there, don't fidget, don't move, don't ask questions, especially if they're not pertaining to like.
And what that develops is, I feel like the starting stages of masking.
Oh, yes,
absolutely,
for sure, because you don't want to be the one who's humiliated all the time, which is what would happen from myself and Julie as well, because we've talked about. I always like the story of the homogenized thing.
You remember that? I love how you remember that. So
because it's so legitimately an illustration of what happens for an ADHD brain when they're in school, and then.
Here I am in high school. I think I was a junior, maybe a sophomore. I don't know.
I didn't know you were that old.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. I just didn't know. I thought you were like in first grade.
No.
Okay, so it even happens in high school, guys.
Oh my gosh, yes. So we came back from lunch. I had this like chocolate milk, and in my mind I was like, what does homogenized mean? Like literally I'm saying this in my head. And then I'm like, that sounds like a smart question. And then we're in history class, so you don't ask this in history class. You're probably asking in English,
or maybe like in nutrition.
That one too. But here Julie is, teenager in high school, thinking this thought, and my teacher's already teaching, like mid lecture. I just go like this. She's like, yeah, and I'm like, what does homogenized mean? She like looks at me and she's like, Julie, I'm gonna call your parents. And I'm just like, what is going on here? Like I got that going back to like when something's wrong, it makes you feel like it like shuts you down. And I'm like, oh my gosh, then what did I do wrong?
I'm gonna guess she was tuned out.
Tuned out.
She was zoned in on that milk.
Exactly.
Probably forgot like any of the context
was.
Of what was going on, and she's like, I need to know this. Like, because that's what happens. Like, I gotta know.
Hyper-focus.
I gotta know. I like to know how everything works with something I'm attracted to, and it can be annoying for some. But I'm like, obviously. I will start reading and learning. My husband knows it too. He's like, if you want to know something, and Tracy's interested in it, just give it to her because she'll find you.
And I would say that was the most challenging thing in being a parent to someone with ADHD. There's 5 million questions, and I'm like, Tatum, I don't know the answer. Like, I've never even thought about this. Let's Google it. There's an Alexa. Let's ask Alexa. Like, and so that's just how their brain processes.
It's a very curious brain, for sure.
How do you structure yourself with focusing?
I do a lot of timers.
Someone's laughing.
Chris is like, I want to see.
He's like, oh boy. I like to set timers if there's something that I know I need to focus on. Ooh. And I'll set a timer and be like, hey, so for 20 minutes you have to do this. You have to focus in, whether that's like you need to clean your room, you need to like get work done, you need to send emails, you need to whatever it is. I set timers. And I also like make a list. This is kind of weird, but I make a list.
No, it's not.
Of everything I need to do in the day, and I put the time that it's going to take me or that I think it's going to take me.
No, time blocking is essential for an ADHD brain.
Yeah.
I don't do it all the time, and you can tell on those days.
That's cool.
And then if I have extra time, so let's say something took me 15 minutes that was supposed to take me 20 minutes, then I like give myself 5 minutes of free time. Right, so I kind of like reward myself in a weird way.
I'm that way too. Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
So reward. I do a lot of time blocking.
Okay.
So what's a day like for you? Is it like an 8-hour day? Is it a 20-hour day? Like what? Or does it vary?
It just varies. I mean, sometimes it's a 12-hour day, right? Just depends on what we have going on. But
Yep. That's the entrepreneur life. Come on, Tracy. When you were trying to do your closing, you were doing everything all in like span of like a week.
Yeah. I like to work like that, though.
Same.
Why don't we let you look at your life, your history, and what would you say is the most important message that you'd like people to know about living with ADHD, rising to the occasion with ADHD, and stepping into your true authentic self?
So I think even just more than ADHD, any kind of mental illness or disability, right? I think there's almost a superpower to it. And I think if you can really hone in on that superpower and just, I think the first thing is accepting, right? Saying, okay, I have this. Let's do research. Let's find what works for me personally. Use that, but then also find it as a superpower and really run with that superpower and let it become your superpower and just embrace it, right? And don't get upset with yourself when you're not exactly where you want to be or you have those down moments. Just love yourself anyways and love yourself through it. And don't let those down days turn into 2 or 3 days or a week or a month. Just let it be a moment. If you can't let it be a moment, let it be a day at most and just rock with it.
I love that.
I do too, and I think the starting place for a lot of people is hard with that concept, but that's truly what that needs to happen. So if you don't know what to do, listen to more podcasts.
Yeah.
Read more books. Reach out to people like each one of us. I mean, we've been there, done that, and we're still evolving and learning.
Still evolving.
Yeah. It's like a lifelong journey, really.
I feel like we talk about it every day. Like we're like, oh my gosh, this is how my day was. Like,
but the more
my gosh,
aware,
this is,
like you were saying, self-awareness is really the first part.
Yeah.
I become aware of something new, like daily. Like, oh, and it just will happen like that. So don't think you're going to figure it all out in one day or just listening to one podcast. It's
or
like
1 month,
a regular
or 1 week.
revisiting.
Like it's your life.
And be patient with yourself in the process, right?
Yes, and when we think about ADHD brains, if they're seeking the predominant dopamine, again, as women, our menstrual cycles, when we have that, it pulls from that part, and so we even need double more dopamine in order for us to compensate what's going on with our body. So that's what I'm saying, like understanding your whole vessel, how it works, understanding your mind, putting it into different spots, like it's a whole trial and error. And that's what I call deciphering. You're deciphering your own world. You're deciphering what works, what doesn't work, what may work for Tracy may not work for me, what may work for Dani may not work for Tracy. So I just think that there's just so much power in learning about your own self.
Yes, that's why it's important to try and find your community, because the more and more people you're going to surround yourself with that have these same tendencies, you can actually empower each other and build each other up. So,
Absolutely.
Do you like music?
I do love music.
Do you like dancing?
Yes.
Okay, so when are we going to a concert?
I'm actually going to Stevie Nicks in 2 weeks.
Oh, no way!
I love Stevie Nicks.
That's
Me
so
too.
much fun! Okay, what kind of music do you like to listen to?
What kind of music do I not like listening to is probably a better question.
Okay, yeah.
I really don't love heavy metal, but other than that, I love...
We're gonna get her. We're gonna get you into heavy metal. Okay. You are gonna get into heavy metal. I promise you. I'll ease you in. You gotta know the right artist, and you'll ease in, and you'll find the art behind it. Promise you.
I'm going to Faster Pussycat. We're not really heavy metal.
Ooh, I was on April Frampton's live yesterday, and she was doing like the back in the 70s metal music, and it was so fun. I had a great time. I was literally dancing in my living room with her. I was like, this is so much fun. Anywho, guys, we appreciate Dani coming here. She's an amazing woman who is leading in her industry as she's developing businesses, structuring them well. Definitely reach out to her. How can we find you?
So you guys can go to www.launchprosolutions.com or reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, however you guys want to reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Obviously,
I'll put all the information below too, so you can easily get a hold of her.
Yes. Thank you for saying that. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us here at the Neuroneutral Podcast with Dani Mansfield. She's an amazing person. With our host, Tracy Kilgore, and myself, Julie Olson. We'll see you next episode. Thank you.